Hereditary is directed by Ari Aster in his first major film directing role. Stars Toni Collette, Gabriel Burns, Millie Shapiro, Alex Wolff. And it features basically a family that is going through bereavement. Now, this isn't a standard family. There are deep, deep psychological problems in this family, as we get told as the film goes along. We actually open up with a very well constructed funeral scene for Toni Collette's mother, the grandmother of the house, who was, shall we say, we get the impression that she was quite a character, that she was probably a little bit weird. We're told that she had quite a secret, private life. Even her own daughter doesn't know that much about what she did in the final years of her life, possibly puts it down to dementia or a split personality. Toni Collette's character also mentions how the funeral is attended by a lot of people that she doesn't even recognise. Now, this is important later because we find out that her grandmother had something of, shall we say, an interesting lifestyle. Now, the film focuses very much on the grief of the family, and it becomes very apparent very, very quickly that this family has some massive, massive divides. There's a huge chasm between Toni Collette and her son, played brilliantly by Alex Wolff. There is the Millie Shapiro plays the daughter, who just doesn't seem quite right. She's the one that you see in the trailers making the sort of noise on and off, almost like a sort of a nervous tick. And Gabriel Burns is the dad we read when we read the write-up from the film company that he's a doctor, although that's never seems to be referenced in the actual film. Is a family torn apart by grief, but the fact that also that they can't speak to each other, they can't seem to interface. It's obvious that Toni Collette's character loves her husband dearly, and she does love her children, but we find out later that love is very strained for a number of reasons that I won't get into because this isn't a spoiler review. Now, this film has got an awful lot of buzz. Now, we have seen 5 stars put across all the trailers that have come out because basically at the indie festivals it got a massive response, a very, very positive response. So this has brought out the problem with this is it's given a huge amount of hype. Now the real question is, does this film live up to the hype? Is this the new Exorcist, or is this the new Rosemary's Baby? Yes and no. Now the yes is that the scene setting, the cinematography, the way the characters are portrayed, how the film explores all these deep family riffs is very, very clever. There is, as you see in the trailers, the mother builds tiny miniatures of various different scenes. Those are scenes of everyday life, but she also makes them to reflect her own life, some of which are quite disturbing, as you'll see if you haven't seen the film already. We have a situation where we think we know what we're going in for. We heard the buzz, but the problem with Hereditary is that the first act is absolutely masterful. I mean, we are talking Exorcist type levels of dread building up. It is masterfully done. The first act of this film, I was on the edge of my seat, gripping my seat. The tension is real. The second act starts to try and fill in some of the blanks, a little bit of exposition. It tends to fall into a few horror cliches. One of the things I should say that this film doesn't rely on, which is great, is jump scares. There are a few times that you'll jump, but they're not the traditional cat jumping out of a cupboard sort of jump scares, which is great. Unfortunately, the third act, when it tries to wrap everything up, it almost becomes a different film. You've had the first act, which sets it up beautifully. It's a slow burn for definite, but there is an extremely shocking moment in the film. Something happens in the film nearly at close of the first act, and it is a jaw-dropping experience. And the way it's played, the way the characters, and one character in particular, the way they react to this surprise, it was absolutely stunning. It really was. I sat there thinking, oh my god, this film, wow, this film has hooked me. This film has hooked me. And the middle act tends to be fairly slow in most films anyway, and it just fills in the blanks as it builds up to the final finale. Now, the finale, I have to say, fell flat for me, totally flat. And judging by the reaction of the cinema when I saw it on its opening night, they pretty much felt the same as well. I heard people as we were coming out of the cinema going, well, what the hell was that? What was the point of that? That's just stupid. That doesn't make sense. And why did they go that route, etc., etc. And I know friends that have also gone to see it since and said it's a very similar thing. So with Hereditary, we have a film that shows real camera mastership and directorial mastership and an understanding of pacing, which is perfect for a psychological type of film, or even a supernatural type of film. And Ari Aster really proves what he's capable of. But unfortunately, the plot in the final act just takes it all away. It really takes you out of the movie. In fact, there's one bit where the cinema I was in actually laughed out loud. And it obviously wasn't intentional. Yeah, it obviously wasn't intentional that you should laugh here. This wasn't a comedy break before another tense scene. This was just something that the audience and myself just thought, oh, that's ridiculous, and laughed for it. So I have to give props to the acting. The acting throughout the film is superb. Toni Collette, I've always been a fan of Toni Collette ever since I saw her standout performance in The Sixth Sense, and she is brilliant in this role. Millie Shapiro doesn't have an awful lot to say because she's quite a reserved young child, but what she does so in a very creepy way. Alex Wolff is brilliant. One of the strange things, and I haven't looked up Alex Wolff's background, but one of the things that struck me was he looked like his ethnicity was different from his mother and father. It's never said that Gabriel Burns' character is a stepdad to the son, but it doesn't seem to fit. His physicality and his skin tone just makes it look at odds with the rest of his family, who are very pale, very pasty-faced, all the other three. So that's never really explained. I'd be interested to know, is he supposed to be adopted? He's certainly his mother's son, because that's established very early on. So Toni Collette's portrayal is absolutely storming. She deserves an Oscar nomination for this, absolutely. And in fact, I think pretty much everybody I've spoken to said the acting was brilliant and Toni Collette was absolutely outstanding. Toni Collette definitely should get an Oscar nomination for her work here. Gabriel Burns has a very understated character development here, a very understated sort of soft, almost like trying to ground the rest of the family. You know that this is a man who thinks that his wife is losing her mind. He knows about the huge tensions in the family. He's just trying to quietly hold it together. In the end, he starts to lose his rag because basically things start happening. Toni Collette tells him what's happening and he doesn't believe her. He thinks she's lost her mind. So, in closing, guys, Hereditary, it's not the next Rosemary's Baby. It is not the new Exorcist. The first act is just absolutely stunning, and it's the sort of thing that anyone that's looking to go into film and filmmaking should definitely watch that as a study of what to do. But likewise, they could watch the end of the film and say that's not how to wrap up your film. So I came out the cinema feeling deeply disappointed, like, my God, you had such a brilliant start and you lost it in the third act. So unfortunately for me, this is not going to get a massively glowing review. This is not the best film of the year, or even close to. So unfortunately, it does lose points because of how much it lost its plot basically at the end, and I give Hereditary an A-. So let me know in the comments below, guys, if you've seen it, what you think. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And also, if you like this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. It's always appreciated, and I'll see you next time.